Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome those in our sanctuary and to those at home watching. Start with Kia Shemera on page 3. It's Shabbat.
Kia Shemera Shabbat El Yishmereini. Kia Shemera Shabbat El Yishmereini. Oti le'omehan beino uveini. Oti le'omehan beino uveini. Kia Shemera Shabbat El Yishmereini. Kia Shemera Shabbat El Yishmereini. Oti le'omehan beino uveini. Oti le'omehan beino uveini. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
So good to be here in the sanctuary, and so good to have those of you who are at home joining us as we raise our voices together in prayer and song and welcome this Shabbat. It's so light outside. When we got in the car to come to temple, I couldn't believe it was time, but it's so nice with the beginning of daylight savings time to have a little more light, a little more daylight in our lives. It just feels good. It brings joy. And Purim is behind us, and that means we're in the countdown to Pesach. Time to find those Haggadot and bring them out, and our Seder plates, and to anticipate that next wonderful holiday. We had such a great Purim celebration at Temple with our Purim movie, and it's so nice to see it go viral on the internet, and nice to have wonderful compliments from friends and family. And the one that means the most to us are the people who say, "It was amazing," especially amazing how so many people in your congregation were involved in it. So many smiling faces, the snappers. And thank you to everyone who supported it and was a part of it. And let's continue to bring in Shabbat as we continue singing now L'Chadodi,
We're on page 6.
one of our new melodies for L'Chadodi.
Hum diddy dum diddy li dum doddy, hum diddy dum diddy li rakava, hum diddy dum diddy hum Shabbat lekavela,
Hum diddy dum diddy
die 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 die,
hum diddy dum diddy die 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 die, hum diddy dum diddy die 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 die, lekavela. Lecha
doddy
dodi lecha dodi lekrakala.
bene
Pene
Shabbat
Shabbat pene Shabbat lekavela.
Shamor
Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echadi. We continue with the lighting of our candles for Shabbat. Who's lighting candles? I didn't
was
get that
hoping
note.
that Kathy Meyer would come up and light the candles this evening.
It's a pleasure to invite onto the Bima Kathy Meyer.
And we're on page, and while we're at it, why don't we turn off our cell phones? And we're on page 8.
Everybody double check, make sure you turn it off.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzibanu lechad likner shel Shabbat. Thank you, Kathy.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
So we were having a discussion in the office this afternoon with Linda, one of our congregants, about the standing and the sitting that we do here at Temple. And we were remembering anew that, you know what, it's hard for some people who have mobility issues or balance issues to be standing and sitting as many times as we do in Jewish worship. And I bet everyone knows already that ruling about pikuach nefesh, this important Jewish value that our lives and our health override almost all the mitzvot, the commandments. Health is number one. So I just want to put out that reminder for everyone here and everyone at home. If standing is difficult for you, it's actually a mitzvah for you to sit. And so there's some wording that Karma reminded me of when I always make the announcements. Those who are able, please rise. Maybe a nicer way to put it is, let us rise either physically or in our hearts, as we turn now to page 9 for the call to worship the Baruch Hu. La 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 Baruch as we continue reading this beautiful translation of the Via Hafta in the middle of page 10. Love Adonai, your God, with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at home and at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. Many of you might remember that early in the pandemic, on our weekly Friday night live stream before the Micha Mocha, I was sharing good stories, heartwarming stories that I either heard on the radio or read in the newspaper about people who were doing simple but sometimes extraordinary things, acts of kindness, acts of self-sacrifice to help others, either distributing masks or delivering food to people who couldn't get out, or just doing simple things that made a real difference in someone's lives. And I called them acts of redemption. I want to share a simple story with you this evening, not about an act of redemption in connection to the pandemic, but one in connection to Purim. And you might have heard the story. There's an expat living in Berlin, an American woman with her husband, and 10 years ago they opened a bakery called Fine Bagels. Her name is Laurel Krachachilvila, hard to pronounce. Her husband obviously is not from here, but from there. And every year, in the month of March, in anticipation of Purim, they make Hamantaschen, and they sell out within a few hours every day. And this year, as she was rolling out her dough and listening to the news coming out of Ukraine, she thought, what could I do to help these refugees streaming across the border? She got an idea. And with the help of a friend, a donated logo, she made a website reaching out to her bakery colleagues all around Europe and in the United States, and they started something called Hamantaschen for Ukraine. And all those bakers rolled out that dough and donated proceeds from the sale of Hamantaschen to help the refugees. 134 bakeries in the United States alone did this, and they raised thousands of dollars. And I thought to myself, what a righteous act, what an inspiring story for us to hear about, and maybe to follow suit, to think about ways that we can take something that we're good at or something that we do and turn it into an act of redemption. In this case, saving the world, one Hamantaschen at a time. Micha Mocha on page 11.
Continue on the bottom of page 12. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkiveinu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkiveinu, Leshalom. Ve'hamidenu, Shomreinu l'chaim. U'v'rosaleinu, Sukkot Shalom lecha. Hashkiveinu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkiveinu, Leshalom. Hashkiveinu, and understanding peace and friendship be our shelter from storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Continue on the top of page 13. We'd love to hear you clap. If you have an egg, I know Ari does. Shake an egg.
Anybody else bring a shaking egg?
Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדודם ודודם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדודם ודודם. ביני ובין בני ישראל
continue on the bottom of page 13 with Amidah, and I invite you to rise either physically or in your heart. Adonai, Sifatai Tita, Ufi Agita Gilatecha. Adonai, Sifatai Tita, Ufi Agita Gilatecha. Oh God, open up my lips as I begin to pray. Oh God, open up my lips as I begin to pray. Adonai, Sifatai Tivta, Ufi Agita Gilatecha. Adonai, Sifatai Tivta, Ufi Agita Gilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imateinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Chonei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Libnei B'neihem, Le'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava. Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, b'chayei hakol. Atah rav le'Hoshia, mechakel chayim v'chesed. Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, somer noflim verofeh holim, umatir asurim, umekayehim emunato lishanei afar, michamocha ba'gevurot, umido melach, melech meimid u'mechayeh u'masmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman nata lehachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, b'chayei hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom, yehalelu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. We continue with Ritzei on page 15. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu ba'amcha Yisrael, utfilatam be'ahava tekabel, uti l'ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. Baruch atah Adonai, she'odcha levadcha le'yirah na'avod. Be gracious, O Lord our God, to your people Israel, and receive our prayers with love. May our worship always be acceptable to you. Modim anachnu lach, shatahu Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu le'olam va'ed. Sur chayenu, magen yishenu, atahu lador vador. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Take a few moments now as we continue and pray silently, turning inward to our own hearts and minds, or reading the beautiful meditations on the following pages, and maybe thinking about the words of the blessing Modim that we just read, and the beautiful picture it paints of the wonder of nature. We see it outside these weeks. Everything's blossoming. It's beautiful. Let's give thanks.
need to leave. I was
You
very
can
caught
stay.
up in the moment. It was so beautiful with you all singing with us.
You can stay with me.
That's all right. I'll let you do your thing.
Well, there are two words in the Megillah, the book of Esther, that ask a very important question. In case you don't know, the Megillah is the book that Jews all around the world read as a part of the holiday of Purim. It's the book of Esther. And Purim, although we had our big celebration last Saturday, was actually yesterday, Wednesday night and Thursday. Before I tell you these two words, I need to set the stage. Chapter 4 of the Megillah begins by telling us that there is a horrible crisis. Haman has persuaded the king to issue a decree that all the Jews, men, women, and children, are to be destroyed. What should Mordecai, one of the heroes of the story, do? The text says that Mordecai tore his clothing and that he put on sackcloth and ashes, which is what you did in the ancient world when you were mourning. And he walked up and down through the midst of the city, and he let out a loud and bitter scream. I guess he figured that he would awaken the conscience of the people of Shushan, and they would speak up and they would save the Jewish people. And what happened? Nothing. People ignored him. What business is it of theirs that Jews are going to be murdered? The people of Shushan chose to mind their own business, and they just ignored Mordecai's scream. They are either too indifferent or perhaps too scared to help. So Mordecai goes to the palace and he tries to get in. But the guards will not let him in. Who knows who this Meshuggah is, this crazy man who walks around in sackcloth and ashes? So he sends word to Esther, the queen, that he must see her at once. When her maids report that there is a crazy man outside, dressed in sackcloth and ashes, she's embarrassed. No one in the palace knows who she really is. No one knows that this crazy man is actually her uncle. And so she's mortified that he has come to the palace dressed this way. How embarrassing. And she tells her maids to go back and bring him proper clothing, the kind that a person should wear when you come to enter a fancy palace. And Mordecai refuses to put on these clothes, and he sends them back. For him, this is no time to care about the niceties of appearance. His people's lives are in danger. Esther sends one of her most trusted servants, a man named Hattach, to go find out what's going on. And Mordecai tells Hattach about the king's order that all the Jews are to be killed. And he gives him a copy of the king's decree, so she'll believe him. And he tells Hattach to tell Esther that she must go to the king at once and plead with him on behalf of her people. I think you know the story. How does Esther respond? She says, "Everyone knows that if someone appears before the king without being invited, the penalty is death." To which Mordecai replies, "Do you think that all the other Jews will be executed and you will be safe in the palace? On the contrary, you keep silent in this crisis. Relief and deliverance will come to the Jews from another place, but you and your kin will perish." And now here comes the two powerful words I alluded to a few minutes ago. Mordecai says to Esther, "Mi yodea," who knows? Who knows? Perhaps the reason you have reached royal status was precisely for this moment. And something clicked. And Esther was moved by these words. And so she sent word back to Mordecai that she would go and see the king. She asked that all the people pray for her for 3 days in order to give her emotional support. And she said that she would pray for 3 days too, and then she would muster up the courage, and then she would go to the king. She was scared. And she had good reason to be scared. But Mordecai's question hit home. It made her stop and think. Did it just happen that she was chosen to be queen out of all the other candidates? Or who knows? Perhaps God chose her to become the queen precisely so that she could be in the palace at this moment of danger for her people. Meodea. Who knows? These are the 2 words that I want to focus with you tonight. These are the words that took Queen Esther and made her think about the meaning of her life. And let me suggest that these are the words that have the power to shake us and to shock us and perhaps even to shame us sometimes into action, if only we listen to them and think about them. We are here. Why? In the richest country in the world. Why has destiny or providence or luck put us here when so many of our fellow Jews are in other countries like Ukraine and forced to live in fear and insecurity and many in poverty? Is it perhaps so that we can use our wealth and our political influence to help them in their time of trouble? And why are we here, all of us, in this, the strongest democracy on earth? The one country in the world that can truly make a decisive difference on the world stage in the continuing struggle between freedom and tyranny. That, after all, is what ultimately is at stake in what's happening in Ukraine. It's not just what's happening in that country. Perhaps we, and by that I mean the royal we, must take inspiration from President Zelensky. We've all heard it in the news. He could have escaped at the beginning of the conflict. He could have taken safe refuge in a bunker somewhere, but instead he's out there in the public eye every day, openly defying Russia and inspiring his people to stand strong. And you know what? He's Jewish. He's not a religious or observant Jew, but perhaps this lesson from the Megillah has passed down to him. And like Esther, he realizes his place in history. So he has decisively answered the question, me, Yodea, who am I? And he has risen to the occasion. And what about you and I? Why have we been given education and political power and opportunity beyond anything that our ancestors ever dreamed? Could it be so that we might have a sense of social responsibility towards the poor and the hungry and the homeless who do not have anyone to speak for them? Could it be Meodea? Who knows? No one can answer the question for anyone else. Queen Esther had to wrestle with that question inwardly for 3 long days before she was able to muster the courage to do what was right, even though it came at great risk to her life. And in the same way, each and every person must struggle with the still, small voice inside that calls on us to do what's right, even though It's sometimes difficult and maybe even dangerous. I began by telling you about a woman many, many years ago, Esther, who heard the question, Mio Dea, and responded with great courage. But let me finish by telling you about a woman who lives in our time, who heard the same question and who responded with great courage. Deborah Lipstadt, for many years, has been a professor of modern Jewish history and Holocaust studies at Emory University in Atlanta. I actually met her when she was a young professor and spent a week at Camp Swig as scholar in residence the year I was a CIT. Aren't you impressed? Well, her name has been in the news recently because she has just been appointed by President Biden to an ambassadorial position as United States Special Envoy for Monitoring and Combating Anti-Semitism. Well, several years ago, Lipstadt wrote a book about Holocaust deniers, about the vicious people who write books claiming that there never was a Holocaust. And a man named David Irving sued her for defamation of character. Remember, there was a movie about that. She could have settled out of court, but she decided to stand her ground. I'm sure that there must have been many, many moments during this long, drawn-out, and expensive trial when she was tempted to back down, but she went on, and in the end, she won. And she says that shortly after the trial ended, it was Purim. And she went to the synagogue to hear the Megillah. And when she got to chapter 4, and she listened to that dialogue between Mordecai and Esther, that dialogue that centers on the question, Mio Dea, she felt that question reverberating inside her soul. And she wrote, I heard these words, and it made me think. Who knows if it was not for this very reason that I got the Jewish education I got? Who knows if it was not for this very trial that I got the upbringing that I did? Who knows if it was not so that I could testify in this very case that I got the training that I did? Maybe we are all meant to do something in our lives that is really significant. Some of us do it on the public stage, as I had to do in that courtroom. And some of us do it by helping a sick child. Nobody knows of it. Nobody sees it. But we are all meant to do something. And maybe this was what I was supposed to do in my life. Who knows? May I suggest to you today that each one of us look deep inside ourselves and think about this question. That each one of us listen hard to the questions that come at us at some moments in our lives. Why am I here? And what am I supposed to do with my life? And why have I been put in this place and given this power or this talent or this opportunity? Was it perhaps so that I could help my people? Or so that I could save a hungry child? Or so that I could teach an inquiring mind? Or so that I could do some other act of goodness for someone who needs me? Mio Dea. Who knows? It's the central spiritual question that faces all of us at some crucial moment in our lives. May we hear the question when it comes. May we consider the risk and the danger that involves, and yet be able to answer the question with courage and with strength, as President Zelensky did. And may our answer to this question Give honor to the memory of Queen Esther, and may it be this in the spirit of Deborah Lipstadt, who is in this regard a modern-day Esther. Who knows? Our answer to this question, mio Dea, just might save someone's life, if not the world. And to this, I hope you will join in me in saying, Ken Yehi Ratzon. May it be God's will. Amen.
Yasher Koach.
Ta-da. And it occurs to me, I mentioned that Pesach is coming. And some of you might have a little itch in your ear as I kept saying mio Dea, because those words come up in the Haggadah, don't they? Echad mio Dea. We continue with Seder Kriyat HaTorah, the special service for the reading of Torah, and I invite you to rise either physically or in your heart as we open the Ark.
We're on page 20. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah,
Udevar Adonai v'Yerushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah. B'or Adonai, O house of Jacob, come, let us walk in the light of our God.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Ki v'amoed, ki v'amoed, ki v'amoed, ki v'amoed. Yalai, lalai, lai, yalai, lalai, lai, yalai, lalai, lai, yalai, lalai, yalai, lalai, lai, You may be seated. Karma, what do we change?
Well, I have to say, this needs to come with a disclaimer. I did not hear nor read Rabbi's sermon before I selected the section to read from the Torah portion tonight. This week's portion is Tzav. It's all about sacrifices and offerings, and you have guilt offerings and you have sin offerings, but you also have offerings of thanksgiving. And I selected to read the offerings, about the offerings of thanksgiving, because this year is the 100th anniversary of the courageous act of another Jewish woman. On this Shabbat, 100 years ago today, Judith Kaplan was the first woman to be called to the Torah as a bat mitzvah. And she opened up the path for so many of us sitting here in this room to be able to connect with our Jewish heritage, with our Jewish history through Torah. And I mean, without Judith, we wouldn't have Lindy here, we wouldn't have me here, we wouldn't have all the women that I see sitting in here who I have had the privilege of studying with for bat mitzvah, and what a joy.
Invited you to give the sermon this Friday.
Mi yodea, maybe my selection was meant to be.
Judith Kaplan opened the door for many women to walk through and follow. Karma was the very first bat mitzvah at Valley Beth Shalom, where she grew up, where her father was the cantor. And Lindy had her bat mitzvah at age 27 on a hillside in Jerusalem overlooking the old city with Seth, who was less than 1 year old at the time, on her hip as she was chanting Torah.
And it's probably a good time for me to put in a plug. I'm thinking about starting another adult B'nai Mitzvah class, so male or female, if you didn't have the opportunity growing up, or if maybe it didn't have a lot of meaning for you when you were 12 or 13 and you'd like to revisit, send me an email. When we have enough folks, we will start an adult B'nai Mitzvah program.
Nice.
And I just wanted to say today we have many, many female teachers of Torah, some professors, many rabbis who bring a different perspective and are wonderful leaders of our people. And that event 100 years ago, Judith Kaplan having her bat mitzvah, helped to push that door open for more and more women to walk through. Shall we?
Well, we're going to call a woman for the honor of the Aliyah this evening. This evening, Beth Sanders is going to take the honor of the Aliyah. So in memory of her father, Harold Sanders, whose yahrzeit is this evening. And so it is a pleasure to invite a woman, and a strong woman, and a courageous woman up to the bima tonight. Mi
Who
yodea.
inspires us every time she takes out her, clarinet, or she plays many instruments.
Okay, so
Baruch
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvarach.
Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachel banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Amen. Vezot Torah tzevach hashlamim asher yakriv l'Adonai im al todah yakrivenu vehikriv al zevach hatodah chalot matzot belulot v'shemen urkikei matzot meshuchim b'shamen v'solet murbechet chalot belulot b'shamen al cholot lechem chametz yakriv korbano al zevach todat shlamav.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torata amet v'kaye olam nata v'tokenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Yasher
Yasher Koach. And may your father's memory be blessed. In the presence of our Sefer Torah, we like to say special blessings, and especially for good health and for healing, for friends and family that need whatever help and strength we can bring to them with our phone calls, our visits, a meal, and with our prayers. for a full and speedy healing. Those of you who are joining us from home, we invite you to send to us in the chat the names of your friends and family whom you'd like to add to our Misha Bera prayer. And this is who we have on our list. Casey Campbell Shadman, Diane Dakin, Randy Watkins, Gabby Lopez-Smith, Rebecca Williams, Victor Altman, Rose Machado, John Kaplan, Barry Klein, Ellen Clore, Jonathan Kelly, Thomas Boggs, Louise Riddle-Kaufman, Nan Jacobs, Carol Hogue, Diane Smith, Judy Platt, Deborah Blinder, Robert Kurtzer, and Rachel Frederick.
And is there anyone here that would like to share a name? Carl Robinson. Misha Bera can be found on page 23. Lisa Marie Campbell, and Courtney Flores.
We pray for good health and healing for all the names mentioned and for all of us here and at home who are in need for these same blessings of refuat hanefesh and refuat haguf, for healing of mind and body and spirit. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofeh HaCholim, blessed are you, O God, who heals the sick.
We're going to continue this week to say together a prayer for peace, a prayer for Ukraine, a prayer for all people. And let's read together. You can see it on the screen.
Holy One, source of strength, we ask your protection for Ukraine and its citizens. We pray for their safety and for the security of neighboring countries that have opened their borders to all those seeking refuge. We seek comfort and hope, even in the face of insurmountable odds. Bless our world leaders with the ability to work together for the greater good and the wisdom to make wise decisions. May the words of Isaiah, "Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore," become true in our day, in this very hour. Source of goodness, shelter us, shield us, and show us the path to peace. We rise either physically or in our hearts as we dress our Torah.
There's
HaTorah asher
sam Moshe livnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai
beyad Moshe.
ki lekachtav
Natati lachem Torati al ta'azovu Eitz chayim hi lama chazikim ba v'tom
And I need to just clarify something. Rabbi said I was the first bat mitzvah at VBS, which I was not the first bat mitzvah. We had bat mitzvah ceremony, so before my turn at VBS, but it was a Friday night candle lighting, give a short speech kind of experience. I was the first girl to have a Shabbat morning reading from the Torah.
You were the
bat
first to read the
mitzvah.
Torah, I bet. Huh?
Yeah.
Groundbreaking nonetheless, in a big way.
Just want to clarify.
Okay. Before we conclude each of our services, we take a moment to remember and to pay tribute to the memory of our loved ones who have died, especially those who have died in recent weeks and months or within the last year. But we remember those as well who died in years past, especially on the anniversary of their death. Those of you who are joining us from home, we invite you to share with us in the chat the names of loved ones if you are in the period of Shiva, 7 days, or Shloshim, the 30 days, or Shana. Or if you don't think that we have the name of your loved one for your site, please share them in the chat. Is there anyone present who is either in Shiva or Shloshim or Shana, the 1-year period of mourning? Please share with us the name of your loved one. The following names are the names of those who have a yahrzeit, the anniversary of their death sometime in the week ahead. We remember with love Parker Hackett, Harold Sanders, Anne Solomon, Anthony Kane, Jenny Kaufman, Sigel Delgado, Gutmann Goldberg, Harold Rothbard, Anna Rafison, Jeanette Simons, Julius Zatz, Robert Miller, Robert Bell, Raymond Lopez, and Helene Heiser.
I'd like to add Herm Lewin, Joey Robinow, Helen Schneider, Betty Myers, Laura Lee Southern, Gail Weiss, Brock and Philip Blair.
Zichronam Levacha, may the memory of all these precious loved ones be for a blessing and a never-ending source of strength. And we hold in our hearts those who died of COVID-19, and we remember as well the 6 million who perished in the Holocaust, so many leaving no one to remember them, to say Kaddish for them. So we say it as we remember our precious loved ones, and we turn to page 26 as we rise, either physically or in our hearts, for Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalmad divrach erutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon u'v'yomechon, u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'izman kariv imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah v'vorach u'olam u'lamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudisha berichu, la'elam im kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, ta'amiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehei lama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mramav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say amen. Please be seated.
So thank you, Beth, tonight for your gorgeous music and for the honor of the Aliyah. And Beth played several Ukrainian nigunim melodies this evening, and so that was very appropriate, and thank you. It was beautiful, and I could really tell which ones had that flavor. I don't know if any of you could do that, but thank you, Karma, for your beautiful chanting, your little drash, and Ari for keeping us on live stream, as always. Happy birthday today to Modane Davidson, and happy birthday in this past week to Bethany Friedel, Matthew Hackett, Amy Evenin, Lorenzo Rangel, and Sarah Battershell, and probably many others. Yasher Koach, Jason already said it, but I have to say it, to all of those who participated in the Purim Spiel, in our Shushan story movie, over 186 people in our congregation. I think that's pretty fantastic. And Mazel Tov to Ari for beautiful film directing, editing, and all the different things, the hats that you wore for the movie. It was really amazing. And you can see it right here. If you're on the YouTube right now watching us, you can watch it right here on our YouTube channel over and over again. So why not? We'll be welcoming
We're approaching 1,000 clicks.
Oh, yes, we are. We'll be welcoming our first Family Promise guests on April 17th. Volunteer opportunities abound. Mio Dea. We are currently creating our first volunteer schedule. If you've already signed up either on paper or online, be expecting a phone call. If you haven't volunteered yet, it's not too late, and there is a sign-up out at the table. So please use the link included in this week's e-blast or sign up at the table. And by the way, Family Promise is going to be testing all of its guests' COVID tests weekly, at least until we know things are safer out there. And they need a lot of tests. So if you have any tests that are almost, they actually have an expiration date. So if you look at the box and you don't think you're going to be using them, or if you haven't ordered the free tests that you can get from the government, you can get 2 sets of 5 tests, 2 for each residence. And then you just go on to the, I don't know, it's COVID tests, free COVID tests or something like that.
.gov.
And you go on and you can order them and they'll come to you in the mail free. And if you don't need them, please donate them. You can bring them to us and we will bring them to Family Promise, or you can bring them to the day center yourself. So that would be wonderful. Our 47th annual food fair is on June 5th, and it's a drive-through food fair, just in case COVID rears its ugly head again. Hopefully not. All food fair sales are being done through pre-orders, and you should have received already an email that had, or 2, that had the pre-order form on it. So we don't expect to be selling additional items on June 5th. So please pre-order your items that you want, your brunches or your bakery goods by April 1st. Really April 1st.
No joke.
It's a hard, April 1st. I really mean it. And I really mean it because we have to make sure we have exactly enough made. We don't want a lot of waste. We want to just make it all for you guys.
I would encourage people not to wait for April 1st because some of those items might sell out before that.
Well, you can find both an online order form, and today you should have gotten a hard copy in the mail. Also, you can go directly to our website at templeisraelstockton.com. In the past, each member's family has been asked to purchase 10 brunch tickets at the amount of $120 and give them out or sell them. And we're not making that ask this year, but because we're not, we do hope that you will consider ordering at least that much in brunches and products, or maybe make a separate gift of underwriting to help us
Defray the costs.
Yeah, to do what we need to do in raising funds to keep our wonderful synagogue and community going. Shabbat Shalom, and we're going to do our Kiddush and Mosi, which is on, aren't we supposed to do that after we sing? I think so.
We sing first?
We do.
Okay.
Page 27.
Oh, say shalom Nikrama. Say shalom aleinu. Ve'amo Yisrael. Ve'amo Yoshvei Tevel. Ve'imru. Amen. Oh, say shalom Nikrama. Say shalom aleinu. Ve'amo Yisrael. Ve'amo Yoshvei Tevel. Ve'imru. Amen. Woo! Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Oh, say shalom Nikrama. Say shalom aleinu. Ve'amo Yisrael. Ve'amo Yoshvei Tevel. Ve'imru. Amen. Ve'imru.
Woo! Now we can do Kiddush and Mosi. Page 34.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri
have a couple homemade challas. Did we end up having two? Jack and Deborah. And this one is from Deborah. That's a
Deborah.
gorgeous one.
Thank you.
I'm going to
Beautiful
show everybody from
challah.
home.
I'll carry that if you want, I'll carry it.
Let's do motzi together so we can take a piece first.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom.
Let's everyone say a Shabbat
On the
Shalom.
count of three, a shalosh, let's say Shabbat shalom to everyone joining us at home. Echad, shtayim, shalosh.
Shabbat Shalom. Have a great week.
Have a great Shabbat and a safe week ahead. Shabbat shalom.